let's go ahead and get started, everybody.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back again to another Sunday game of Ironclaw, the uh, the King's Chosen, with our crew, myself, Lessons Learned, as your GM. And so we're going to start from really my left, and then run through. Rafferty, what's your character and your motto?
Hello, world. I'll be playing Presbyter Vesper today, a raccoon almoner has a tendency towards gluttony, and his motto is "Keep your faith alight, but keep your powder dry." And I'm currently in the Isles. I still want to go ahead and give a generous charity to the needy, but right now we're still. Actually, I don't know why I still have this as a goal. Is find the assassin of the diplomats, but I think it's not so much that we're looking for the assassin as we're looking for who's behind the plot.
The one who ordered the assassination.
Yeah, the one who ordered the assassination, because I know it's a good thing we recovered that poor lost boy who I assume would be murdered, but things just get more involved. But anyway, yes, that's me.
Uh, Next up, we have Gregory Griffin.
Alright, hey, I'm Griffin. I'm playing Gregory Verkin III, a lion elementalist with a vain personality. His motto is that I'm fit to be the king. And his goal, of course, is to find out who ordered the assassination.
Have Arcaloid. Yeah, Arcaloid.
Hello, I'm Arc Lloyd. I'm playing Spencer McDougall, the raccoon cognoscenti spellbinder, and his motto is "The best secret for those you're not known to keep." And he is currently looking for who ordered the assassination of either Nicholas Councilman or Charles Martel.
And last but certainly not least, Theta.
I'm playing Harmon, a donkey soldier, a personality stoic, motto, you need to know you're in for the fight of your life. My only goal is to discover who ordered the assassination.
Okay. So when we last played, which was last Sunday, you just discovered a plot, apparently tied to your investigation, to blow up the church that is being transformed into a cathedral. Literally discovered where they put the 6 to 8 barrels of gunpowder, and we're tracing the fuses to its place. Also, you also knocked out, so to speak, or captured the person, apparently one person behind the plot, who, due to the mental assault on his already weak mind, went a little loopy. Maybe he was already loopy and it just sort of triggered an event. And well, he was carted away by the city guard. Um, so you're standing in front of these barrels. What are you going to do? They clearly have not been triggered, otherwise, you wouldn't be here. But
Well, with my trusty servant Harmon here, we can go ahead and stay guard over this while we send someone else off to go and tell the Lord Chamberlain that we're going to need a lot of help moving a lot of gunpowder.
basically, you can send a message, right?
Yeah.
You don't need to send. Maybe one of the same guards that you called in to haul in the.
Right, yeah,
and
we stand guard over it, they go fetch them, and we go through the whole hassle of it.
The guards basically take all the workers and sort of put them in a corner somewhere. Maybe you want to talk to them or not, right?
Mm-hmm.
They do the sort of police even though this is fantasy world, but they do sort of a police cauldron thing where they keep, onlookers on one side and
Mm-hmm.
they have another area for the witnesses, right?
Yeah.
They come in to actually bring an explosive expert. And they actually talk to not the engineer, but the architect. They track down the architect for the project, and he's like, "Oh mon Dieu, if this thing had blown up, the whole thing would have come down on our heads. It would have been a disaster. Whoever did this knew what they were doing. It's horrible, Clearly, somebody's been brought over from Calabria to investigate this, and basically they take. Slowly but surely, the explosive expert sort of unbraids the fuses because they were all tied together. They started breaking around the mortar so that you don't want to strike one of the barrels with a pitch or something and just have it explode in your face. They take them out, they check them, right? They open them, One of the things is that they find at least one or more of them have gotten wet. So basically, the explosive return to you is like, I think that about two of them would have been ineffective, but the rest were just more enough to cause significant damage. I do not think they would have bring everything down, but you know, but still, you could have had dozens, if not hundreds, of casualties, especially if there was during a full service.
Right, if they waited for completion and then set it off at the right moment, say at this large cathedral where any new king might end up being coronated, then that would end up being a tragedy beyond belief.
Either way, I think it would have been a great shock in the city to see the beloved cathedral in waiting,
Of
but be
course.
no more. Not to mention all the denarii that would be spent trying to rebuild this. I doubt very much they would have tried to even rebuild this. It would have been abandoned.
Mm.
A pile of rubble.
Well, our cathedral still stands tall. And
Sadly,
now...
the Archbishop does not like it. We'll secure these barrels. We'll take them to the arsenal and secure them. Make sure that the wet ones are taken care of. He points in and he sort of puts a finger in and he sort of goes in like this. It's like, this is very interesting. This is.
What'd you find?
I've heard about this, about a new version of gunpowder. One that is actually cheaper to make, more effective. Perhaps I have to investigate to get the alchemist to investigate this, because if it is what I think it is, my estimations might have been wrong.
Cheaper and more effective. How terrifying. What if just everyone had access to guns? What would that world possibly look like?
Not a good one. Sorry, not a good one.
A dangerous one for sure.
So they basically cart him out, and you receive a message from the Lady Chamberlain to, well, I have to have a meeting, so you can debrief her immediately about what's going on.
Right, and I'll go ahead and look to Vesper and Spencer and say, well, I probably can go ahead and handle this debriefing without any further assistance, but there is a crowd of people still here, and while we did inquire earlier, now that we have a suspect, maybe there's someone who could tell us more about this person we picked up and who their associates might be. If you two get onto that while I'm busy, I'd be very appreciative.
Very well.
Then you have your orders, and I have a meeting. So, off I go.
Off you go.
Criminality and skullduggery, things I knew nothing about. Well, I'm going to turn to Spencer.
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, isn't this your bailiwick?
Yes, I would say so. So I guess you can follow me. And
Wow,
that's all he really wants to do is bruise the crowd, see if anybody knew this guy.
Mm-hmm.
All
I
right.
think you can do if you're just simply asking around, basically it would be gossip, right? To get sort of general information to start narrowing it down. So
All right.
that would be a minds and gossip roll. Maybe throw in an observation if you're trying to figure it out, weird, behavior among the people that are there, right? So somebody has a tell or something.
All right.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm too shaken by the ordeal to be any assistance whatsoever.
I mean, with this 6, you start narrowing down a couple of people. With one success, a couple of people remember this guy, and what they tell you basically is that he's staying in a nearby flop house where most of the workers are staying, right? And he has it's a 2-story building, and he has not a room but like a bed on the second story, right? A lot of workers, especially temporary workers, that's where they stay at. Instead of flop houses and block houses, right? That's where they stay at, away from their families if they came from the countryside or what have you. And a project like this requires hundreds at least of people to be coming back around, whether it's just moving stone, whether it's actually doing more finery, art, working on gargoyles. I mean, a host of things, right? A lot of artisans and workers. So, and he just apparently people that you talk to apparently they rely they're one of the workers, right? They seen around. Like, yeah, he's been there, and of course, I mean, he had access to the crypt right underneath the vast, expansive crypt underneath the church. So, which they were working on to make sure that the trusses. Well, they have to pay for the flop house. It's not free.
Right.
Yeah, it's a business. Make sure that the columns that would support, and we've seen a Gothic cathedral, medieval cathedral, they have these side columns, these arches on the sides, that when they were sinking them into the ground, they would not, would be not doing any damage to the area below. So that's what they were working on in the crypt.
All right, so I guess we should see about. Don't think we need permission to go into this flop house. No,
I mean,
except maybe, or we could ask the people running the joint. Just as a matter of courtesy.
No, you don't ask for permission. I'm here to give alms to the poor, and this is my assistant.
Very well, let's go check out his flop house then.
Well, while we're
Go
here,
ahead.
since I'm no good at gossiping interrogation, I'm actually going to give alms to the poor. So you can go ahead and start talking to people. Because my assistant role totally failed. I'm just going to go ahead and help people.
Okay. Basically, you are, there's a lot of people in, again, this area, a lot of workers, but now, of course, the situation, a lot of people are always take a few extra dinners, food, water, whatever you're able to give them. And the flop house is no different. It's run by one lady, Matilda, who is she is in fact also a house cat, a feline. And an elderly one, bent over, it's like, what can I do for you?
Oh, yes. One of your workers, what was his name again?
Leonard. His name was Leonard.
Leonard, there's been some problems with him. He's gone a bit balmy, and I'd like a chance to see what I can see in his room.
Okay, sure. It's just a bed in the second floor, really. I think he has a bit of a trunk and stuff like that. Not much, really. We were going to spring for some cabinets, but at workers' wages, they don't have a lot, and most of the time they drink it anyway, so they have to put them in the book. They owe me. Leonard owed me about 3 weeks' wages worth of payments. Allowed. So just go ahead and.
Very well.
If you find anything worth anything, you know what I mean. Might just put them aside. And that way.
Yes, for your perusal.
Yes.
Yes.
I would appreciate
of course. As you wish, ma'am. And he will go up to the room there and let himself in so we can check out what's in his footlocker as they were talking.
Yeah, you see basically rows of beds, right? And the one that they mentioned is the second to the back, right? Has a small footlocker, but a bed, simple bed, and that's it. So if you're gonna search for anything, you're gonna have to do a will, a mind observation roll for me and search. And you need at least 2 successes for this.
Searching is its own skill, so it would be
search,
different from observation.
Okay, so search then.
Okay, so will.
And you need at least 2 successes.
What did you say it was, will?
will and search. If you can rope in anything else that.
Now, I might be able to help you with that because that's something I'm actually somewhat good at.
Okay.
So let me know if you want to tear me away from the good works to help you with your venal system to support the status quo that crushes these people.
Yes, I think I'm going to need some help because I have exactly one die in all this.
Oh,
So
well,
please,
okay then.
Mr. Almoner, help me.
There you go. Get a D8 from me. These people who live in abject poverty, who are so desperate that they would risk their lives and limbs to risk being maimed and being torn away from their loved ones, just for this sort of labor to build a cathedral, really makes me question my entire faith. Anyway, here's a bonus.
You actually got the 2 successes you needed, and you find that there is a little bit of the bottom of the bed is wood, very thick planks of wood, basically, and they should be just
Right.
a couple of planks, but one of them actually moves a little bit, and there's a note, and when you pull it out, you realize that it's a sketching of the crypt with certain areas marked.
Interesting.
So
Very interesting.
and what looks like some notes about timing, right? And a description of what, and the other side it's basically a set of instructions or how to do the thing that you're supposed to do. And then a curious phrase. Instead of a signature, it's more like a phrase. It says, that which was once broken would be made anew. We must shatter the present to return to the past.
Well, that's a seditious writing right there.
Yeah.
Yes.
That which was
But it's written in the
broken,
vernacular, right?
yes,
Hmm.
shall be made new. So be made new.
Is this going into PC notes, or should I be putting this under?
Yeah, you should go ahead and put that into PC notes too.
That
Ark, I'm gonna trust you on that because I
what is
don't want to keep popping it
modern.
up all the time.
What is modern should be shattered to bring the past through. These things must rhyme somehow, so that's why we wrote it that way. Which kind of matches a lot of what this guy was ranting when the guards took him away, right? He was talking something about
Right.
that. But you're not really sure what it was, right? And the writing itself seems rather fine, right? First of all, a lot of people don't know how to write, so this guy either knew how to read or just sort of like saw it and was like, whatever, right? But clearly, this is not done by a fine hand, not by it's not crude, chicken scratches or anything like that. Somebody who has some agility with the pen.
Yeah, like a scholar or something.
Perhaps.
This isn't your normal street level graffiti.
No.
For one thing, most of these people would be illiterate.
Mm-hmm. So either that was a message to this person or something that somebody felt compelled to write for some reason. That's a wave of signature.
Oh, there was no signature?
Mm-hmm. Sorry, I missed that, but
There was no signature?
no, there was no signature.
Apparently, the treasonous seditionists declined to sign their work.
Put it down just in case it's relevant.
Well, this confirms that, okay, so we're seeing assassins with professional grade gear and then large quantities of explosives. And now, like, slogans and cause. There is evidently a very large underground movement here that we were not informed of.
So we move over to
Yes.
to Gregory, who is now in front of the
Lady
Lady
Chamberlain.
Chamberlain, and the room is, aside for the guards outside, it's you and the Lady Chamberlain. And again,
Yeah.
she
And I
finds
guess
herself
Harmon
looking
can
up.
do whatever he wants.
Yeah, Harmon is either with you in the room
Or
or
just outside of it.
Probably he's there as well. I'm thinking
Yeah.
that Harmon would not leave your side no matter what, unless
Mm-hmm.
strictly ordered to, and she's not going to do that. And she's again looking out the window and sort of her ears twitch as it's out, and she sort of scratches them. It's like, well, this appears to be, how can I put this? Something.
Something indeed. A very big, dangerous something.
We moved up from mere murder to now attempted mass murder.
Quite honestly, there's a full-on conspiracy here. There's been evidence of such movements throughout the whole city on just the investigation so far, and a few names drop that we need to investigate. However, they're undoubtedly pseudonyms. They understand the risk of what they're doing here, and I think they actually hope to succeed, not just to martyr themselves.
So, my dear, what is your assessment of the situation so far?
Ooh, assessment. On what front? Well, I suppose on...
Just paint me a picture to see if we're on the same page here.
Well, if I were to describe how the situation looks, it looks like a particular someone who calls himself Lady Veritas has perhaps not only ordered the assassination, but also orchestrated a large amount of smuggling, gunpowder, perhaps counterfeit magical artifacts, and interacts with quite a lot of the lowborn of the city to do so. The guns that she acquired were in fact foreign, hence the smuggling, and she brought them past our own customs, along with any further gunpowder, I believe. She's distributed this among her, has distributed this among her network, it seems. And, well, so far, at least 2 of the plots she's gone through, came very near to succeeding. And I can only fear for what the 3rd plot she might have in mind would be, if she has the resources still for it. As far as I can tell from what I've investigated, nothing else has come in recently. However, she undoubtedly has a stockpile of something.
She kind of like does a thing where she looks up in the air like she's thinking. It's like, wait. The targets have been what might call foreign persuasion, yet the materials also appear to be of a foreign source.
That's correct. Aside from the cathedral, I assume that's native. We didn't import that, did we?
Well, when I say foreign, is that it is of some people like to call the new church.
Of course.
The church has been importing a lot of Calambrian priests and the like, and there's a bit of a clash between the old country parishioners and the new city folk.
I think I see what you're trying to say here. You're suggesting perhaps this isn't a conspiracy necessarily against us, but rather a conspiracy of foreign agents against each other.
Perhaps. But the thing is, were it to happen in our soil and these things would happen, it would rip right open rifts that are already straining, as you will. The 3 sons will look at this, especially the youngest and the oldest, would have more than ample reason to see this as an act of war. One to justify, perhaps, in fact, one to accuse the other of being a traitor, even if there's no direct link to it.
I see. I think the logic on it pans out. Of course, it's still only speculation until we get some true confessions out here. I think the motive still remains a little bit of a mystery.
I hope you had Spencer study the mind of the captive. We try to question him conventionally, but it seems that it just goes more into more ranting
Of
as it
course.
goes.
Spencer will do his work, and it'll take some time. I only hope that we have the full time if they're moving so quickly. A plot every other day? I can barely imagine keeping up with that. Hopefully we'll have some time to rest and think about this.
Well, since we don't know that there's time schedule, it's impossible to know how much or how little time we have.
Exactly, all we can do is cower in fear from these horrible attacks.
That, and when you say that, he looks at you. She looks at you straight in the eye. That is something I would certainly not do, and my magisters will certainly not do.
Exactly.
So,
If such is their objective, the best we can do is to not work along with what they want.
I hope also, of course, you haven't spread word of this to other parties.
So
I'm sure the
far,
conspirators know what they are, although they seem to be disciplined enough to compartmentalize their information, such as it is.
none know the true extent of what's happening, save for myself and my companions.
Keep it that way.
I believe already people have already heard of the gunshot a few days ago. It's hard to keep a lid on that, but at least that provides a good introduction of what we're doing, and means we don't have to tell them very much more.
If we can keep it only as an assassination attempt, that can be passed out as simply noble squabbling.
Exactly.
Still difficult to do, still problematic, but so far manageable. I don't want to add more powder to the cake, as it were.
Exactly. Well, I would assume that you want me to continue our investigation at this point, given the pressing urgency it seems to have.
Yes, I would. I'm tempted to put more men onto this, but the more people to know, the worse I fear it will get.
Right. Perhaps better to have others try to keep their eye out for any further suspicious activity, while we investigate in particular. I think we have a good shot at success. Spencer will be able to do his work from below, and I think I have an angle from above that, if it hits, might work. I'll tell you about it if it works.
I expect good things for you, Gregory. Now, if you don't mind, and you have long work to do, and so do I. Trying to keep a lid on this as best I can.
Busy days. Well, enjoy your work, Lady Chamberlain.
Same to you.
All right.
So, Spencer and
Vesper.
you come back
Vesper.
from Vesper. Sorry, you come back from the flop house. The only thing you really found, aside maybe from clothing and other things that he would be wearing, would be that the sketch that you found, and so nothing more seems to have jumped out of you. Unless you have a power that allows you to read the area or something like.
Wait. No, I don't.
Okay, no. So yeah, you go back. You know that Gregory is at the barracks, so that probably is the place to go. As for Dax basically is investigating other things. So
Right. Dax is indisposed.
Yes, Dax will probably come back to you. You're keeping him appraised.
I'm sure Dax has gone off on some innocent and private errand that has nothing involved that would be embarrassing whatsoever. Yes. Such a good-hearted person. Too pure for this world, really.
Indeed. So you all met back at the barracks. So, what now?
Well, my lord, may I speak freely?
Absolutely.
You're screwed.
You're correct. What have we gotten ourselves into?
Obviously, it's not surprising that there is a strong resistance to the imperialist invasion of the Calabrias. So there is they are well supported. They have access to high-tech resources as well as large explosives. And as near as my companion Spencer and I can discover, they're well organized and have high morale.
Indeed. And I have informed the Lady
Yeah.
Chamberlain of such, and, well, it doesn't look very good. However, we're going to continue the investigation nonetheless. It's part
I
of her own
worry.
assumption that it might be foreign agents interacting against other foreign agents, rather than, a more disturbing uprising of the common folk against us or us themselves.
Well, while I don't think we can rule out that it might be
Mhm.
foreign interference, which is giving the rebels some help, I can't emphasize enough that they're extremely effective at this. They whatever support that they gather is uh, knows the locals, blends in seamlessly, and above all has high enough discipline that they're not doing things to offend the locals. The people who were stealing the iron could recognize locals and spare their lives. And this whole assassination attempt, they didn't kill the clown. They stole his disguise, and even though they tied him up and left him abandoned in the woods, they made effort to preserve his life as well. So, this is no like foreigners coming in here and just pumping money or putting pretenders. This is extreme. This has to be coordinated with people sympathetic to the cause.
Targeted with specific goals and specific parameters for everything that they do, yes. And the five of us have to take on an entire nation of spies.
Well, if I make another suggestion here, the difficulty I think lies in the fact that if they are a body, they must have some sort of like agenda in line other than crush the power of the Calabrese. I mean, maybe, no, sorry, that could be their agenda. Who knows? But that means that it might be possible to bridge the gap between us and them and come to some sort of agreement. I mean, there have to be, if it's this well organized, there have to be leaders.
Quite correct. Of course, it seems that they put themselves at a fair distance. You remember what the captain said. Every messenger he interacted with was different, and was not even a direct link to Lady Veritas.
Right. So whoever Lady Veritas is, if they're even a real person, because they could just be like, yeah, no, they're well organized and well trained, which really just gives me pause because either there's a history of underground movements and sedition in the Isles, which I guess we could look for,
Mm-hmm.
or someone is aggressively training them in these techniques.
Right. Well, still, speculation aside, our target is clearly to figure out who this Lady Veritas is. That might start putting some pieces together, and at least if we take out the leader of the network, perhaps the rest of it will not operate on anything in particular for a while.
Well, I'd suggest the best thing to do would be to go through, well, not the best thing. One thing that our skill base is good for is going through the records and seeing if there's reference to other seditionists and or Lady Veritas as a public figure. That might prove difficult because I'm pretty sure that any records that go back that far won't be in Calabrese.
Right, and according to what Dax has informed me before, she's definitely a quiet underground figure who's gaining in prominence, but would probably not be on any public record.
Well, how would you want to proceed?
Well, we have two angles, I think. We have above and below. The below angle requires Spencer. Spencer, your talent is indispensable. We do have at least one person we can connect to all of this. You didn't find any more co-conspirators while you were out, were you? Did you?
No.
No. Well, unfortunate. Well, we have the one, and if you can take the time to probe his mind whenever you are capable of, that will at least proceed us forward. So's the hope. From above, It's possible that maybe the one noble that I have identified who could possibly fit Lady Veritas may be who we're looking for. However, that requires investigation, and the less I piss off the nobility around me, the better. So I'd prefer not to say rush in with a warrant. If someone could sneak around and take a look, that'd be nice, but well, we don't have anyone nearly pure and innocent enough for that right now, I think. Otherwise, I've invited them to dinner. Perhaps they will pick up on it, and maybe while they're out of the house, someone else could do something. And maybe I could do some questions myself. We'll just have to see. What do you think? Do these sound like enough? Do you think there are other angles?
They
I,
sound
I,
decent.
yeah, I agree with Spencer here. Given our meager resources, I think this is a positive path forward. I
Right.
turned corporate there for a minute. I'm sorry.
That's okay. So then, Spencer, you know precisely what you must do. You have to interrogate the prisoner. I believe you've already done so this morning with your ability. That'll take some time to do again, won't it?
Yes, I'll need some sleep.
So sometime tomorrow. Uh, Vesper, I'm not quite sure what we could just send you out to do on your own, unless you want to go ahead and scrounge the poor and see if maybe more evidence shows up. I think there were last we heard, Dax was saying that there were some magical artifacts that may have been smuggled around and moved to various crypts. Maybe, as your position, you could investigate and see if this is so.
Well, what Dax found out was two things.
Mhm.
There were some bodies that had been stolen from the old cemetery,
Yeah, there we go.
and also there were rumors that somebody was buying up magical ingredients and rare items, which are expensive unless you have the right connections, right? You're in university or you're an independent wizard, which has the right connections. And of course, moving bodies around or stealing bodies really raises a lot of more questions than answers, and all of them bad. Like, oops.
That brings up a very good point. Maybe as you said, maybe we want to look at records, and if perhaps the university is a good source of these, maybe something happened off the records and we can try to discover it. So perhaps you and I can head there while Spencer does his work. Or, well, Spencer, you can't even do your work for a while. Why don't you just come with us and help out with the research?
I would be delighted. Let's do this.
And thus we arrange the Isle Book Club.
Back to the Bedbook and Candle district of the city.
All right.
To
So,
go in,
I will probably arrange with the Lady Chamberlain to have the warrant to look through for the sale of particular magical things over at the university, and I'll go say hello to some old professors, and we'll have a
as you're
time.
going in into the Bedbook and Candle district, there's basically the changeover, right? You have
Yeah.
the artisans and workers going back to home, maybe the local tavern, and literally almost like a wave of young men and women, a different, mostly middle class and upper middle class, streaming from universities, going to the taverns and
Mhm.
inns. Right? It's almost like if you go to any college town and there's that one designated street where all the Thursday or
Yeah,
Friday
the
or
bar
Saturday, all they
row.
hang out with the bar row. That's what's happening, right? And most of them are wearing different robes and stuff like that. Mostly, with, colors like beige, like non-identifying robes in any particular magical tradition because they're students, and not all students study, generally magic, but many do. Um, they study zoology and all kinds of things. So you're coming in, and almost like it's like turning the corner and meeting this wave, and people are drinking on the streets. They're drinking in the bars. The doors are open. Usually, most people you can tell the bars are the locals. They're inside the tavern or in, while the students just come in and out and they're chatting up. And you see actually a group of like female kids surrounding a handsome silver fox, and and it's almost a reversal of the five guys tried to hit on the one girl, right? But they're like, and they're talking whatever, and he's sort of like playing it cool but looking for a way out. That's happening in one corner. Another corner, you see two lion cubs, right? Older cubs, talking and boasting. It's like, oh, I did this and I did that, and oh, you should have seen me with that. How I ace that exam and stuff like that. So these are scenes that you go and you sort of have to sneak through this group of people as you go to. Once you start getting into the proper university area, right? It thins out because most of the lights are out, and maybe you see some lights in the library or some other areas. Most of it, it's past, study time. So most of the students are just out about drinking and whoring and having a good time and setting themselves up for huge hangovers for the next day. But hey, it's university life. So you go past in, and you intercept one of the masters. Says, "Well, oh, is that you, Gregory?
Yes.
Oh, I haven't seen you in such a long time, my boy.
Well,
Heard you were coming up in the world, I see."
it hasn't been that long. It's only been a few months, but well, maybe that's worth a month worth of drinks and catching up.
Oh, I wish I could do it, but my stomach these days is a bit off, you see. My wife told me not to because last time I had to spend. It was a mess. I do not want to bore you with the disgusting details.
Well,
Suffice to say,
maybe I'll get you a drink better fitting your temperament. Maybe I'll import some fresh mountain spring water just for you.
a tea. I'm now on a teetotaler, literally. Some good teas though. I found one particular tea that has this flavor. It sort of puts you in a very calm mood and stuff like that. I have to be careful not to drink it before class because, see, it's once moment I start the class and the next it's over and I already know what happens. But what are you doing here, my boy? What can I help you with?
Oh, well, unfortunately, it is mostly business today. I was hoping maybe I could inspect a few records as magistrate.
Oh, see, so you're official capacity, my boy. Oh,
Ah,
you
that's right.
are moving up in the world, and even though it's a month or so you've been here, it's amazing. It's amazing. You're still practicing your pyro techniques, right? Being careful not to set things on fire just by sticking
Oh,
your finger.
absolutely. The utmost of caution.
We had that problem with you with all the candles and then the explosion that one time. I don't know if we're gonna have to.
Now, you know I love a show, and you know I love showing off, but even I recognize the danger of it. Better to keep a lid on it until necessary.
Well, now I'll tell the headmaster that you're coming in with. You have some documentation. I hope.
But
Yes.
perhaps I might come in for some additional study someday. I'm thinking
Oh,
there's a few more things I do need to brush up upon.
my door is always open to you, my boy.
Then I'll come to it. Then I'll come to it probably within the fortnight. Then. But as for now, I am doing a bit of investigation. I think maybe there may have been a sale recently, and I'm wondering if perhaps it went to the wrong people. Not, of course, on the university's fault, but such things happen. I'm curious in finding those people.
What sort of sale are we talking about here? If you don't mind me asking.
Unfortunately, it wasn't a professional who went out asking what these things were. But I have a few ideas. I think maybe if I take a look at them, and I have the assistance of my friend Spencer here. Perhaps you may recognize him. He may have wandered by the university, like, within 5 miles of it at one point. Maybe we can figure out what they're up to, and, where maybe they're at. I think that's what our goal is today. Maybe we'll find some clue.
Okay, very well. Oh, then, do you know where the headmaster studies? So yeah, present yourself and I'll let you into the records.
Wonderful, wonderful.
So, good evening. Then I have to go meet my lovely elderly wife, who is still lovely after all these years.
Yes, tell her hello.
I will. Very well then. And it
And
sort of waddles away, it's like,
yeah.
But you don't meet with the headmaster. Headmaster is told that he's resting, but the assistant comes in. She takes the
The warrant.
the warrants as well. We have, of course, our library, stuff like that. And are you looking for registration records? Are you looking for, materials that we keep? What is
Yeah,
exactly?
materials kept, materials bought and sold, and which departments have them, and maybe we'll check up on the numbers.
Right away, you find that there's, most of the stuff here is of a magical persuasion, right?
Yeah.
Mostly chemical stuff. Nothing seems related to anything to do with bodies. You know that bodies mean necromancy of some sort.
Yeah, of course. I
And the,
I highly
and the
doubt the
official-
university is trucking in necromantic objects.
and the official line with that is that they don't truck with that, right? There's some what I might call dual purpose items, but there's small quantities as well, so they're just there for demonstrations and stuff like that, maybe using the laboratories, what have you, but
Right.
not enough in the quantities, and because with this stuff, it's a pinch for a pound, I would call it, right? Yeah. This is a coach. And you don't want to use a lot of this stuff either way because it's very expensive, right?
Mhm.
And you look at the expense reports, nothing seems out of the ordinary. And basically the assistant to the headmaster as well. We're just talking about materials. We haven't lost anything that we know of.
Mhm.
Sometimes the students like to take up some bits of here and do part of
As
it.
I remember taking a little bit myself off the top every now and then, but only for fun.
And then of course they meet the king. That's we have to be careful with that these days. A lot of complaints from their noble parents that we're being too strict with them. Like no more than 3 canings a year. That's too much. It's like, well, I guess we have a quota now. But we don't. I mean, this seems to be a very wide record. Search for our records. We do have all kinds of available records for you if we would not want to be involved in these things that are happening. Sully the reputation of the university. So feel free to search with the right supervision, which is
Of course.
me. So if you have anything else you want to search, by all means.
Right, if such comes to mind. So I believe you were saying, Lessons, then that we don't find anything, or should we go ahead and make a roll to start actually trying to research and see if there's anything?
If you're just looking at material, I will tell you that, I'm not going to have you roll and come up nothing, right? It's just,
Yeah.
There might be something else here if you expand the search, but right now we're not going to tell you that materials. They keep a good eye on the materials, so there's nothing major has been losing, and none of the materials, as far as because you and Spencer have magical training, would fit anything outside of the purview of the university, at least where you can see them. The storage areas and stuff like that, and some of the classrooms that may have a little bit of material.
Right.
It takes you a while. We spent a couple of hours doing this, but if that's what you're looking for, if you're looking for something else, I mean, you do have a warrant, and you're in the premises,
And we're here, so we may as well
you could
continue
bluff your
expanding
way.
it. We have the time.
Yeah, you can bluff your way into some other areas if that's what you want.
But the only question is, what then? What do you guys think? So we already kind of have ruled out direct ties to necromancy and specifically selling things to necromancers. That seems unlikely. Maybe if there's a medical wing, maybe someone brought in cadavers to be studied, and maybe those have disappeared and not returned to their grave. But I guess that would also go under materials.
I'm not quite understanding why you're pursuing this necromantic angle.
Well, not quite just necromantic angle, just materials from the university. Nothing seems to have really happened. They've kept track of everything.
The term necromancy is a Calabrese one. The local magic of the pagans don't discriminate between the power from within that we use for our elementalism and white magic and the power from without, which is necromancy. So while they might have local necromancers, they would be practicing a completely different kind of magic that doesn't involve raising the dead or something like that.
Well, the university is organized along calibration lines, right? It's sort of a newer institutions, and so most of the language will be or languages will be from Calibria. You know, it's like
Well, in which case, I don't understand why you're accusing the university of having necromancers, because we've had no evidence of that.
Well, no, I mean that wasn't the accusation at all. It's just that someone may have been selling something to these necromancers because they've acquired something, some magical and alchemical ingredients, right? Lessons. That's what we learned.
yeah, at least they were searching in black market channels for this stuff.
Right, and the university is one of the largest sort of suppliers or centers of all these things. So presumably,
Okay, but that's what. Yeah, but that's why I'm confused why you're calling them necromancers. They're just people trafficking in stuff.
right? Yeah, I guess necromancer just to make the label easy here, but yes, people trafficking in stuff. Maybe it ought to have come from the university because that's the biggest pile of it.
Speaking of someone whose job it is to know the difference between a necromancer and just a black marketeer, I wanted to make sure you knew the difference.
Right. So, but as far as materials and the books go, it seems like at least nothing is being trafficked out of the university, which very good to know at least. We have at least one bastion of fortitude amongst us. But
Well, we've also had no evidence. Well, I mean, not that the seditionists wouldn't be using it, but we've had no evidence that they would. So far, all of the gear that they've used has been mundane stuff. It's been guns and gunpowder.
that is true. But I simply worry about the magical elements that I've heard about. Something must be happening, but I just don't seem to have the foggiest clue of what they could possibly be acquiring, or to what end.
I also would like to remind you that gunpowder will also kill you as dead as you can get.
Incredibly true. But, well, I'm not quite sure what we can expand our search into. That's what it really comes down to. We found nothing so far.
Well, a positive path forward would be that you are the law, and you are also money.
Yes.
So I would suggest that as a longer term solution, that you start advertising and offering rewards for information.
Well, yes, as a longer term strategy. And I'm going to keep that recommendation in mind and definitely follow up on it. However, I mean more particularly while we're here.
I don't think this is the kind of thing that we're going to root out in a day. These people have a high level of morale and a high level of skill. I think we're going to have to conduct our operations vigilantly, but we have to wait for some part of their chain to break. We're going to have to watch for something. And that's going to require a lot of patience and a lot of resources. Two things I think we have in abundance.
Indeed. Well, I suppose as long as we're still on patience, I may try to go over the student list as well while we're here. What I'm interested in is how many foreign students are here.
Okay, now that would require a search, use in mind, and if you have any particular knowledge, skill, or say maybe nobility, you might be thrown that in.
Okay, so let's start at the top then.
And
So
if somebody
who's
wants to help you, then
yeah? So a search check, you say?
Yeah,
search.
Spencer, I think, is the big nerd with research.
I don't have that yet.
Oh, then we're not the right kinds of nerds.
We're not nerd enough yet. So since it is based on search, I think that's
three
it.
successes. Yeah.
I think that might only be Spencer then. Spencer, do you have searching?
Not yet. I need to get it for my spells, but right now I don't have it.
Wow, okay then. So we're already off to a great start. No one is actually good at this stuff. So you recommended lessons, things such as nobility. What else were you suggesting?
That's probably about your mind, of course. Search skill, you have it. Nobility, and just basically force of numbers. I mean, you're three, so if all go into and sort of search deeply, maybe one of you can find something that comes up, right?
Right.
So you can, yeah.
So I already have the D12 on it, and I'll go ahead and accept assistance from either of you two if you want to risk it. Given that you guys only have one dice on it, there's a chance you're gonna botch it and ruin it for everyone, but let's take the chance. If I can pump up to 4 dice, that's a possibility here.
All right, so you want me to do this?
Go for it if you want to. That's your choice. Spencer can always back out and say I'm too dumb for this. Same goes for Vesper. What do you think? Are you going to try to assist?
I'm more of an academic than a record searcher. I can, but this is not my forte.
All right. Well, Spencer gave me a D8. That is a something. So I have, just to make sure, I have my D6 mine, I have my D12 nobility, and I have my 1D8 assistance from Spencer. Let's roll it with 2 successes. More than a normal person might find.
Okay. You do find with 2 successes. It mentioned that one Lady Valerie, which you remember, was a noble that you were talking about, was a former student here.
Oh.
But she didn't finish any particular curriculum. So she was here for about 6 months or so. And then nothing more.
Dropped out. Very interesting.
No
That's
reason.
weird.
As far as you know, there's no how can I say this? This is no
Suspicious looking foreigners.
no, not so much as that. No reason you don't find any reason why she enrolled or what classes she took,
Right.
or you only got 2 successes. You would have got an extra success to actually get a more in-depth story.
Yeah, and I imagine looking at the classes, they're all just
Out
like
of
basic courses, I assume.
Yeah.
Well, this is the
Basically,
Middle
you know,
Ages.
Yeah.
A
Basically, what
university
you do,
class.
the way it works is that you attach yourself to a given master,
Mhm.
right? And because it's basically the Oxford thing where there are classrooms, but you have these study groups, right?
Mhm.
And so each master has one or more abilities, and what the university really provides is areas for study, dorms, and libraries. That's the reason why we have a university, right? It isn't that
Yeah.
you go to from 8 to 9:30. You're going to take this class from 9:30 to
Mhm.
it's not that regimented. So once what happens, that's why the master you met was like somebody very personal, because he or she will have a group of about 8 to 10 students at most.
Mhm.
Like literally, if you remember the first movie from Harry Potter, when they're walking through the garden and you see Hermione come out of a group of students around one person, and she
Yeah.
joins the group. That's what really happens. Like if you were to walk during daytime, you would see a group of students around a master, say under a tree.
Mhm.
You would see other walking around, and the master would be just pointing at stuff. You might see
Hound them
another
until
group
you
and-
learn all of their secrets.
Yeah, it's a collection of people and resources. Some of them might have
Okay.
a classroom. That they
So
have to
so
give
then the
classes,
question here
but-
is in classes then, it's was there any particular master she was under? Which I think
Well,
your
I think
response
you
was
didn't-
no.
you didn't get enough to link them to that. If there probably is in the records, like somebody might have a memo or something like that. They talk about somebody, but that's very deep in the records, and the records are extensive, and sometimes not as meticulous as There's no computer here where you can go, search parameter, name, and gives you all the classes they had. At the
Yeah,
first
of
term.
course.
So,
But
yeah.
you know who I can ask and who we're a lot better at questioning? A bunch of drunks.
Well, if I may make a forward suggestion here, my lord.
Of course.
So you have a listing of a student who is enrolled, but they don't have listed who their master was.
That's correct.
So that would be, I dare say, an impossibility. It would be that they received a large sum of money, but then never met the student.
Gregory just kind of like completely blanks out for a few seconds as the wheels turn in his head and go, a professor was bribed?
No, the university was bribed.
All of them?
This looks like someone spent money on a non-existent student to give a large donation to the university. Where did this money come from again? Who is this student?
Uh, Lady Valerie. She's come up before as a possible person of interest.
Right. So I think we need to go talk to the we need to go talk to the bursar, the person who received the money.